Well, good Monday morning. It is 7 a.m. and welcome in to the Real Monica Adams Show, brought to you by our friends at Innovare Health and Wellness. By the way, it was so incredible on Saturday. Dr. Sarah, her husband Brandon, myself, Jim, Michelle from moderating and from our Wet Your Whistle Wednesdays, we all had a chance to build beds for children who don't even have a bed. An organization I wasn't aware of. It's called Sleep in Heavenly Peace. So Sarah, thank you so much for introducing us to them. John Carney, thank you for everything that you do with Carney's Kids. That's one of the organizations that they have adopted. I want to see it all the way through, though. We built all of the essentials for the bed. Now they will be delivered to children in North County and North City, all underserved children that do not have beds, and then they'll assemble them there at their house. So that's one of the things we did over the weekend. Also want to thank Doug Allison and his wife, Lisa. We had an opportunity to go to the first ever Bread and Butter Gala, which was to support Bridge Bread, and that was on Friday at the Chase Park Plaza. So a wonderful, fulfilling weekend. I always talk about the triangle of life theory. You got to fulfill your heart, you got to fulfill your soul, your spirit, your mind, and the mental side, the physical side of it all. When you have all of that, then you have your blessing. So we did that from filling our soul, mentally worked on the life coaching aspect and the personal training with all my clients. We completed that part. And of course, the physical side, we went hiking. Michelle and I went hiking yesterday. What a gorgeous day to do so. Speaking of which, weather-wise, these next 3 days, get out. Make sure that you get that vitamin D and sunshine. About 65 for today, tomorrow. Actually Wednesday looks even prettier, sunny and into the 70s, but it was really, really cold when I walked out this morning. I was even telling our security guard downstairs when I walked in, okay, it's a little chilly. She's like, fall's here, Monica, and I said, I'm not ready for it. It's in the 40s, by the way, so you might want to grab a coat as you are stepping out. So a little news you can use weather-wise, and just, again, some great things happening this past weekend. Hope you had a great one. Did you watch the Mizzou game or the Blues game? It was good for Missouri. Both teams winning. Love that. Can't wait to go to the Mizzou game coming up against Tennessee in November. One thing that I will say is sad, and I posted it. Not sure if you all saw this, but this beautiful woman right here, can you see that? Suzanne Summers passed away. Today actually would have been her 77th birthday, so she died one day before that, dying at the age of 76. Don't just remember her as Chrissy Snow from Three's Company, but an advocate for women's health. I mean, she's actually the reason most women talk about bioidentical hormones. Multiple books, including the one that a lot of people talk about, which was Ageless. So maybe you start purchasing those books and you advocate for your own health. So rest in peace, Suzanne Summers. Actually, the cancer is what took her, and we're going to be talking about cancer today. We talk about it a lot. My father passed away from cancer when I was only 24 years old, and I thought, oh gosh, I didn't get a chance to grow up with my dad really as an adult. Well, today we're going to talk about 3 young children that no longer have their father. They lost their dad at the young age of 48. Can you imagine that? I just looked through pictures trying to grasp who this man was, and I want to tell his story today. Kyle Andersen passed away just within the last 6 months, and today we're going to talk to his wife. We're going to talk about the warrior that he was and how she gained strength to go on, and why she wants to make sure that there's more funding and more education and research. So this is Kira Andersen. We're going to tell that story, and Dr. Charles Willey joins us. It's Medical Monday, Ask the Doctor with Innovare Health Advocates, and today we're going to talk about fatigue and all the things that go with that, your own health with regards to fatigue. But I also told him I'm going to bring up Western, Eastern culture medicine, and we're going to look at the balance of both of those. So Kira joins us in the blue chair when we return. Envita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Envita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Envita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Envita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment, or online, EnvitaHealthandWellness.com. Welcome back, 7:05. So thrilled to have you with us. And I love all the new people that are coming on board saying, I just stumbled upon your show and now I'm hooked. That's what we love to hear. And if you want to see me back on television like you did for 18 years, take your tablet or your phone and cast it onto your TV. And there you go. That's how you start your day, with a little positivity and a little strength and a little hope. If you didn't hear, just a couple minutes ago, I mentioned Kira Andersen is my guest here for the next 30 plus minutes. And then we have Dr. Charles Willey coming up after 7:30. Be ready with your questions. He loves to answer your questions for our Ask the Doctor segment. With no further ado, let me bring her on. Kira Andersen, first of all, thank you for coming in so early.
Yes,
I appreciate it. And I'm so glad that Morgan, a mutual friend of ours, introduced me to your story. As soon as she told me about you, I said, yes, I want to do this. Before we get into the story, with regards to what this show is all about, you keep saying, oh, I love this. This is what I'm all about. So you are a health and wellness coach, right?
I am, yes. And I do focus on mental health as well.
It's a big part, isn't it?
It really, really is. I agree that it's mind, body, soul. It's all connected. And I actually was really into that before my husband got sick. And now after he got sick and passed away, I'm on fire for it. So,
well, that's probably the thing that brings you some solace, isn't it? I mean, how else, if you didn't have that, what would you turn to? That
Right.
It's the things that we talk about that other people, the addictions people turn to, the
Absolutely.
dark places people go. You know, obviously you have a myriad of emotions that happen since he passed, but is your health and wellness that you turn to the thing that's getting you through?
absolutely. No question. And a lot of times it gets swept under the rug and people do fall to addictions. And after cancer hit our family, that's something that's uncontrollable, right? But what we can't control is what we do with our mind, body, and soul, the food we eat, the things we drink, the things we watch, the things we listen to. It all matters.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to talk about this story that not only Kira, but the thing that broke my heart, when you sent over the pictures to me, I just said, I know I'm going to tear up, if not cry today, because looking at all those pictures, you can tell the love, not just between the two of you, but the love that your husband had for your children. And now these children are without their daddy, and they're young, 6, 4, and 2. And they were 4, 2, and 1 when he
Almost
was
one.
diagnosed, right?
Right, yes.
So Kyle was his name, and we're going to tell his story today because I want his story to inspire you. I want you to see yourself in this story like we always talk about that, and those are a lot of you that have fought this type of fight. So first of all, tell us about Kyle. How long were you two together?
So we were together almost 10 years. He is so greatly missed. So he's from a small town in Montana, Dillon, Montana. He grew up with 3 other siblings. He was the youngest of 4. They were a ranching family and still are. So he went into finance. He worked for Edward Jones. But Kyle as a whole, he was just an awesome, positive person. He loved being outside. He loved fishing. He had tons of friends. In fact, I have to note this here. Towards the end of Kyle's passing, 8 of his friends flew in to be there for the final few days. It was just really, I don't know. It just blew my mind. I think that just shows how great of a friend and colleague he really is and was. So he went to Montana State, finished at University of Utah. He started as an FA for Edward Jones 25 years ago in a small little corner, like closet with like 2 file cabinets, and he worked his way up and moved into St. Louis to work at the headquarters and became a general partner. So
We're looking at some pictures of Kyle. We'll actually be sprinkling pictures in of when these two were together. You can see the love between the two of them, the healthy aspect of them, and then we'll start to show when he was diagnosed. You can actually watch the deterioration that happened and cancer, what it does to someone. I mean, I mentioned, Kira, I lost my father when I was 20. Well, actually, he was diagnosed at 23. He was gone almost in the same time frame as your husband. It's so quick. They're diagnosed, and you think, okay, well, they'll have medicine and they'll come out of it. And then they don't. And I'm sure you did the same thing that my mom did and that I did, my brothers did, my sister did, of why? And then you do, if you're able to, instead of the why me, okay, why not me? Why not that man right there? You just talked about how much he loved fishing. Why not him be able to change the world? But why can't he change the world while he's here, right? You go through all of that. What goes through your mind as you're seeing these pictures?
You know, he just really loved our kids. He worked so hard for Edward Jones. I mean, truly, I joke that, you know, he was married to Edward Jones before he was married to me. And he loved life. I mean, games and Super Bowl, and he traveled the world. He really lived in those 48 years. And
well, you know what, Kira, that's exactly what I put in the description today about living for every second and the importance of this. And I don't know how many times I've been saying this over the decades with my personal training clients. When we started the triangle of life, the mental side, the spiritual side, you say it, people see and hear the stories like we're talking about today. All of a sudden it like lights this fire in them, and then they do it for a few weeks or a month, and then they go back to looking at pebbles and making a big deal out of small little things when you say, wait a minute, the boulder that you were hit with, that Kyle was hit with, that your family was hit with, that's when you really have to prepare your mind and your soul, and you say, no, I've got to really, really live. You just mentioned how he traveled the world. You can see it in some of these pictures.
Yeah.
That man looks like he truly lived.
he really did. And he met so many amazing people along the way. And, you know, we talk about continuing his legacy because, as I mentioned, he was with Edward Jones for 25 years. He helped a lot of people secure themselves financially. And, I mean, his funeral was packed. The man was really loved. So he inspires me. I know he'll inspire our children and hopefully many others.
What are your kids' names?
Cora is 6.5, Leah is 4.5, and Dane will be 3 next month.
So, does Dane even understand that he doesn't have his daddy anymore?
You know, because he wasn't even one when Kyle got sick, he probably will I don't even know what he'll remember, but we talk about Kyle being in heaven, Dad, you know, he always says, my daddy's in heaven, but, you know, I don't think he really grasps or knows what exactly that means.
Well, that's something we haven't discussed on this show yet, is what, as a parent, do you tell your children when they're so unbelievably young that they're not going to see their dad come walking through the door again, that he's not going to be there to take them to their first day of school? We have a video we're going to show a little later that just broke my heart, and I was asking Kira last night, what is this video? It looked like a daddy-daughter dance, and that it was. That was the last big memory between them, right?
Absolutely. So that was in February of last year. Kyle passed in April. So it was, and he felt awful that day.
You can tell, but I was showing my husband last night. You can tell, I mean, you know, and again, we'll show that in a little bit, but you can tell what he's going through, but you can also tell that he would not do anything else but be there for them.
Yeah, he rallied. He really rallied. I mean, his clothes didn't fit. He wasn't feeling well that day. I mean, unbeknownst to us, his cancer was growing back. I don't know, maybe we can talk a little bit more about towards the end, but yeah.
So he was diagnosed in the spring of 2021,
October.
right? Or no, I'm sorry, you mentioned October of 2021, but he started exhibiting symptoms in spring.
Yes.
What were the symptoms?
So his bowel movements all of a sudden were irregular. I think that it's really important that people pay attention and know what their body's doing, and that's why we could talk about this more, but I'm really into people eating really healthy, drinking water, making sure you know your body. The better you eat, the better fuel you put in your body, you'll know when things are off. So his bowel movements were off, and then he started having back pain, stomach pain. You know, it was in and out, you know, on and off, but he was very uncomfortable almost the whole year. And his sister is a family practice doctor in Bozeman, Montana, and Kyle, I will note this, Kyle was a little bit of a hypochondriac to begin with, so he was pretty anxious from the get-go. So he would always call his sister, who's a family medicine doctor, and she was like, oh, your microbiome might be silly, you know, messed up, because I was giving him pre and probiotics, and you know, just trying to assure him mentally that everything was okay. So we went through all summer battling this, not feeling well, not able to use the restroom, just not well. And he didn't get one of the common side effects or symptoms, I should say, of pancreatic cancer is jaundice. So oftentimes the pancreas, the tumor starts in the pancreas and moves to the liver almost immediately. and it can create jaundice. And he did not look jaundiced to me. Maybe he was, but I see him every day.
Right.
We ended up getting a colonoscopy in September because we were like, something's going on. It can't just be his microbiome's messed up. They did a colonoscopy, came back clear. Yes, came back clear.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, so he has these symptoms. Let me reintroduce my guest. This is Kira Andersen. We're talking about her husband passing from pancreatic cancer, but that's not where the story ends. The story now is really this awakening that has happened within this woman of, I want more research, I want more education, I want more money, dollars that go towards this research that will affect all over the world. Because one of the things, we're going to show this video, you've been raising money, Team Kyle, for Pedal the Cause, and you're not ending there. Let's actually roll that.
I want to say thank you so much to everybody that has donated and helped us get to $250,000.
Team Kyle said number one.
Yes! And Team Kyle's number one after Pedal Weekend. As you all probably know, my husband Kyle suffered from stage 4 pancreatic cancer for 17 months. He battled courageously. But he lost his battle of April of this year. We have till the end of October to continue to fundraise. Every single dollar goes into the researchers' hands to continue some really promising studies. So we are bound and determined to continue to raise funds and awareness, not only around pancreatic cancer, but GI cancers in general. Cancer research funding is in such dire need, and it truly should be a high priority. And so I'm asking for you, the supporters, people that have helped us get to this point, $250,000, you guys, in just a few months. My ultimate goal is $1 million. If you have a company match and you haven't already sent your receipt in, please do so. If you know someone who is affected by pancreatic cancer or GI cancers, or feel passionate about funding cancer research, please send this video, send them my information. Please, please, please continue to share the importance of cancer research and what Pedal the Cause is doing for Cited Cancer Center, which is the number 3 cancer center in the country. Again, thank you so much. We would really appreciate the support. We have till October 31st, Halloween. Thank you so much. Let me know if you have any questions.
There we go. They've been raising money. Now, I watched your Facebook page. Did you slip to number 2? Is that what I saw?
Unfortunately, Team Kyle's been number 1 up until this last week. So
so that's why, there's many reasons why I wanted to bring Kira on, but let's get that back up. You're wanting to raise how much by the end of October?
My goal is $1 million by the end of October. So,
and where are you right now? Where are you sitting?
About $255,000. So
okay.
Got some work to do.
So if they want to donate, they're hearing this story. Some people are actually saying that they've been there. Kathy says, good morning, my dad passed away with issues with his pancreas. He was 46 and I was only 27. So again, you see yourself in this story. Doesn't matter the cancer. It's the fact that we need to continue to raise money. So there's Team Kyle. How many did you have on the team?
There's about 10 people on the team. I just became aware of Pedal the Cause a few months ago. Maybe not aware, but I decided to join them a few months ago. And so, myself and one of my very best friends actually put our heads together and went to town. So she's a colorectal cancer survivor. And then the gal in another gal in that picture has also helped. She's a lymphoma survivor. Two of my very close friends. It's just so ironic how this all has gone down. But Pedal has been a blast, amazing. I really, truly believe in that organization. I have been approached and talked with many other pancreatic cancer organizations. They're all doing wonderful things. PanCan, Let's Garden. There's really awesome work being done. But my husband was able to get a novel treatment. He was the first patient to get a treatment that had never been in humans, but worked miraculously in the mice that they were studied on.
And what was that?
So that was a treatment. So it's one of the standard of care chemos. So for pancreatic cancer, I'd like to note, it is a very tough cancer to treat. It grows very quickly. It is very resistant to treatment. So actually only 36% of patients actually respond to the standard of care treatment for pancreatic cancer. So Kyle had the first standard of care and then the second standard of care, and essentially his cancer was quote unquote stable-ish, but oftentimes pancreatic cancer doesn't care and it just grows over and overpowers the treatment. So he was diagnosed in October. In December, I looked at the oncologist and said, what else is there? My husband is 47 years old. We have 3 very young children. We literally are looking at the second half of our life. We've worked our butts off. We're ready to go live and have our family. He's like, there really isn't anything else. I mean, he said there's some things in labs right now that are waiting for funding that look extremely promising. And I said, okay, tell me more. And so he told me a little bit about this study he was doing. And I said, so you're telling me there's something in a lab right now that could save my husband's life, and all we need is funding? And he's like, well, kind of, yeah. And I'm like, well, how much? And he's like, Kira, it doesn't work that way. I'm like, no, really, Dr. Lim, how much does it take to get something promising into a human's body?
Absolutely.
And he said, for a phase 1 study, it takes about $3 million. To me, I was like, I'll find you $3 million.
Yeah, let's go.
I looked at him in the eye. I said, I will find $3 million. And he's like, oh, Kira, you don't have to do that. I'm like, but I do.
Yep, this is my husband. This is my children's dad, yes.
Correct. And someone that has worked so hard and, you know, I mean, just so hard in his life and done so much for so many other people. Like, it is his turn. And so I immediately opened a fund through WashU, the Kyle Andersen Fund, and started to raise money. A few months later, we actually were able to get Kyle compassionate use of the medication. So I started to put it out on, the internet, social media. We need funding. I got some really big commitments, and then actually, it's an interesting story. So I looked at the study because I was in medical sales for 10 years, and so I'm familiar with medical terms and studies, and so I found the study that had been done. I saw the actual work, and I looked up the pharmaceutical companies that supplied the medication. So the medication is an inhibitor. So I'm just going to talk about this in layman terms because I am not a scientist, but basically the pancreatic cancer cell is very, very tough. So the 2 standards of care, like I said, less than 36% of patients actually respond. And immunotherapy was another option kind of floating around that's been doing wonders for cancer. Well, Kyle wasn't a candidate for immunotherapy because he has the bad luck pancreatic cancer. No mutations, So, anywho, this inhibitor essentially softens the coating around that cancer.
Okay.
And allows the chemo to work better and immunotherapy to work. So for those of you that are not familiar with immunotherapy, the immunotherapy revs up our own immune system to attack the cancer cells, not just all the good cells in your body like chemo does.
Right.
So the test drug, I'll go ahead and call it the test drug, I looked up that pharmaceutical company, and it turns out I put on the internet and I said, who knows anybody at Aclaris, this pharmaceutical company? A gentleman I worked with and also did lots of volunteering with, we were very close, sent me the CEO and president's cell phone number of that pharmaceutical company. Because I literally just put it out on the internet. And by the way, I was very shamed throughout Kyle's journey for being social, having my social media still up and continuing to work out. Yeah, and I was
shamed because they thought you should have been at his bedside.
Correct.
Okay, but you're advocating. You are trying to raise awareness and education, and you have to take care of yourself.
Right.
While you're again, social media can be a beautiful thing, and it can be demonic.
Correct. But I knew in my heart what I had to do, and I did. I was able to do both. I was by my husband's side. I went to every single chemo appointment, and we can go into that later or not, but essentially, I went on the internet and said, who knows? So looked up, called Dr. Neil Walker on his cell phone on a Saturday. He called me back 20 minutes later, told him our story, and I said, I hear you have something in your portfolio that could potentially save my husband's life. And I told him our story, and I said, how can I get that drug into my husband?
Right.
And he's like, well, we're actually studying it on rheumatoid arthritis right now. And I'm like, cool, I'll just get Kyle a rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis, no problem. He's like, it doesn't really work that way. He's like, but have you heard of compassionate use? Now, I had heard of compassionate use before, but in my mind, it seemed like a bunch of hoops and we'd have to go through the government. I mean, and I'm like, no, can I just get the drug into my husband a different way?
Now.
And he said, I'm meeting with my board on Monday. I will talk with them about the potential of us allowing a one-off. I'm like, perfect. So then I Google the board of Aclaris Pharmaceuticals. And number 2 on his board, it's Bill Humphreys. I worked for him, right under Bill Humphreys. So then I get Bill Humphreys' cell phone number, and I call Bill. I'm like, hey, Bill, do you remember me? And he's like, of course I remember you. I told him the story. He said, I'm in. We have a meeting on Monday. Let's do this. We're going to rally and do the very best we can. So that was on a Saturday. Monday, Dr. Lim, Kyle's oncologist, called me and said, you've been busy. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been busy. And I'm not done yet. And so he said, actually, now we have to wait and see if they'll let us use this drug. By the end of the week, the answer was yes, you can use it. In addition to another inhibitor that is being studied by a different company. We had 2 yeses for the study drug, same type of molecule. And now we had to go to the immunotherapy company, which was Mertz, I think. I can't remember. One of those pharmaceutical companies. It'll come to me after the show's over. And then chemo, we were already approved through our insurance. So then we got a yes from that company.
Okay.
So then we had to go through WashU. This is actually quite interesting. And Dr. Lim had to create whatever. It's basically a study of one. Present it to WashU and say, hey, this, our story. And they said no.
So you had yes, 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 and then a big no.
Yes.
And that stops it all?
Oh, no.
Okay.
So Dr. Lim calls me and says, WashU says it's one patient, it's risky. These are 3 drugs that have never been in a human before. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, who said no? And he's like, I cannot tell you who said no. So then I went online, looked it up, figured out who it was, called his office and explained the story to the secretary. And I said, when is this doctor's clinical hours? Like, I will go. And again, I was in medical sales for 10 years. So I'm used to sitting in doctor's offices. I said, I will go sit in his office when he's seeing patients and when he has a break or at the end of the day, before or after. I just want to talk to him live, and I want him to tell me why my husband will not receive this medication. And so I don't know what Dr. Lim did. He called this gentleman back, and I do know this gentleman's name, but I'm not going to call him out.
Right.
And he changed his mind. So I don't know if Dr. Lim said, this woman's coming after you or what.
Watch out. She means business.
So I had an email drafted up. I was going to drop off pictures of our family. I Googled him. By the way, all of our addresses can be Googled on Google. So if you get a letter from me, it's because I Googled your address. And so then we had to go to the FDA to get it approved through the FDA. And again, Dr. Lim writes up this whole study for one patient, submits it to the FDA. At this point, I had gotten a hold of Dr. A.J. Gould through some of my connections, who started City of Hope in LA for cancer patients. And he used to sit on the board of the FDA. And he studies pancreatic cancer. So I called him and I said, hey, this is going to the FDA. Told him my story. And he's like, oh, it'll get approved. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, I'm sure. Sure enough, we get approval of the FDA, and it's on. Kyle gets to start treatment.
And at what point in the diagnosis did that start?
So he was diagnosed in October. In March, he received his first round of the study.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. Again, Kira Andersen, we're telling the story of her husband, Kyle. And this right there is what I want you to be aware of is don't just give up. Don't
Absolutely.
take no and then just lay down. And you have to be an advocate. I mean, we've got Dr. Willey coming up here shortly. You've got to be your own advocate, and then you got to keep fighting and doing research, doing everything you can. I mean, obviously, this is her husband. When you have a loved one that is in the fight of their life, you'll do anything. We'll have more with Kira when we return.
It's the icing on the cake.
The final brush stroke.
The finishing touches make all the difference in your home, too.
Have fun and get started at carolhouse.com/room planner.
With thousands of accessories in our 3.5-acre showrooms.
Get your picture perfect room and the lowest prices in the country at Carol House.
Because you like nice things.
You know, of course, it's great to get outside and enjoy the warm weather, but when it's time to relax indoors, be sure your home stays cool with equipment and service from my friends at Aldon. 24-hour emergency service available. At Aldon, it's their commitment to continue providing above and beyond HVAC service for all of their customers. They truly care about the air you breathe. Call them today at 314-567-5585 or on the web, aldon.com. That's ALDON.com. petal-don.com. 314-567-5585.
Welcome back, 7:30. You're watching The Real Monica Adams Show. Do me a favor, please share and like and follow. You want inspiration? You want to know, once again, how to push forward when you get the type of boulder that Kira had been delivered, she and her husband hearing that news. Kira, some comments are coming in. Where can I donate?
I will send you the link. They can go to my page on my Facebook or Instagram. My Instagram is The Essentials by Kira.
With an I, Kira. There's her name.
Correct. Yes. And there's a link in my bio to donate directly. I, again, joined Petal the Cause, and so I'm trying to raise $1 million through Petal. So please go to that link and be able to donate there.
There you go. So again, it's Team Kyle with Petal the Cause. We'll get that link. We'll drop it in for you. Actually, when we wrap up, I'll have Kira get the link, and we'll have Michelle and Tina drop the link into you. Marilyn says, Kira, you are truly amazing to be so strong with your recent loss. I'm so very sad for you and your 3 beautiful children. It does not make sense. My sweet neighbor, Kristen, walks every year for this horrid cancer in honor of my sweet husband, John, and her very loving aunt. Donate. Oh, she said she already made a donation for you. God bless you and your family. I despise cancer. Has taken so many of the people I love. Pancreatic cancer seems to be popping up more. Interesting. Why? Well, we have a doctor coming up. We might ask him. I actually told Kira, and I want you all to write this down, I interviewed Dr. Ken Rybicki many years ago when I did my health and fitness show at KMOX. That gentleman fought stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He actually developed that supplement. It's called Neovitin, Vitin, Neovitin. It went in remission. Every doctor was like, I don't know what could possibly have done this. And he's like, I am an advocate. I fight for myself. I am a medical doctor. Yeah. So he made that. He was able to prolong his life. He did eventually die, but he had years, though, that they did not expect to have. So look it up, by the way. It's called Neovitin, and Dr. Rybicki, what an incredible medical doctor he was. So we're talking about her husband, Kyle. We've been looking at some pictures. You saw the love between the family. You could see the deterioration. It is just absolutely amazing what it does to the body. What any type of cancer does, but as they go through that. So he gets diagnosed in October. He starts this in spring, in March. Then how's he feeling? I mean, now we're looking at pictures again. You can tell, obviously, that he's going through this.
Yes.
From March until he passed, which was what month?
October 24th.
So
I'm sorry. April 3rd he passed.
Okay, so in March, though, he started that.
Yes.
And then he passed it in April?
Yeah, the following year. So we got an extra 12 months because of this treatment. I'd say he tolerated it well. There were times better than others, but I'd like to note here, he was in the hospital. We were in the hospital 10 times. He had 9 or 10 blood transfusions, 67 other infusions, whether that was chemo, saline, vitamins, what have you. He went through 32 rounds of chemo. It was, and we're just talking the surface here. This story doesn't even, I'm not even able to share what it did to our family, our relationship, our extended family, the things that went down. Cancer puts a spotlight on your life. Yes. And so I'm a huge advocate of people taking care of themselves, meditating, exercising, eating well, because life is going to throw us all curveballs. Right. And if you're in a good place mentally and physically when these things occur, you're better able to handle them. I mean, it was a nightmare for us, a nightmare. And
did you lose friendships?
Oh,
or did you gain friendship? Or maybe both?
Yes. Both. Yeah, the true colors of people
absolutely
shine. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm talking friends and family. Mm-hmm. So I am my eyes are wide open. And yeah, I view life very differently now.
You're seeing there at the end all those pictures as he was in the hospital, and you could just see what cancer does. And so here's a woman who is on a fight, and yes, she lost her husband. You just lost him 6 months ago, right?
Right, April 3rd.
At the age of 48, and then found out about Petal the Cause. Did Team Kyle, again, I actually want to thank Michelle. She did pop the link in.
Awesome.
For people
thank you.
to donate. People are saying blessings to you and your family. So you right now you are a title that you wish you wouldn't have to have.
A widow.
You are a widow, but you're a fighter. And now, in his honor, you are doing everything you possibly can, trying to raise $1 million by the end of this month. They're at $250,000. First of all, we got to get them back up to number 1 in Team Kyle Petal the Cause. For you and for your children, I think this is the thing that people really need to understand. How are you taking care of yourself besides meditating and,
Yes.
and working out? You're a spin instructor also, right?
I am, yes. I teach at True Fusion. So I left the medical field and got into fitness and health and wellness. So I do have a health and wellness coaching business. I haven't really taken on clients. I'm starting to take on a few. But I do teach spin at True Fusion, and I do hot yoga and stay connected with people that are positive. I speak, I jump on the phone with people who are loving and stood there, with me throughout this battle. It's just been, I don't know, just trying to keep positive and love on my children. I mean, they are my priority as well. I want to get them. Kyle and I always talked about having a happy, healthy home. And then this awful disease took hold. And so I'm trying to get us back up. I'm in a lot of therapy. My children are in a lot of therapy. We're in, groups, supportive groups. And I also want to mention here, so I've raised about $520,000 in our fund before Pedal the Cause. So my ultimate goal is $3 million because I feel like I want to be able to raise enough money to support a phase 1 study so that we can further this cancer along, because money at the ground floor is so incredibly important to get a study, the wind behind a study, to get it going and getting it into patients. It is so crucial. And the more I know, the more the louder I speak, because all of us, 1 in 2 people, essentially will be affected by cancer personally.
Absolutely.
And
we all have the cells. It's just, my husband used to say when his mother was diagnosed with lung cancer, the doctor said, he looked at the family and said, we all have it.
Yes.
It's just, do you live long enough to possibly get it?
Correct. And also I wanted to mention here, I really hope that people can think about fueling the good cells, not the bad cells. So it's kind of a mind shift, right? About trying to eat as healthy as you can. Of course, follow the 80-20 rule, but it is something we can control.
Absolutely it is, and that is literally why we do this show. It is, you have to take, I always ask everybody when I do motivational speaking, Kira, who's the most important person in the equation of your life? It's you, first and foremost. She wouldn't be able to take care of Kyle and take care of all those children if she wasn't taking care of her. You go through something like that. A very dear friend of our family just lost her husband. Same thing. I saw her post last night, and she's like, no, I hate this. Why me? He had more life to live. I'm sure you've done that. You're going to go through, right now you're strong in this chair, but you are going to have the moments of, why don't I have my husband anymore? Why don't my babies have their father anymore? Right?
Yes, and I have. I mean, it has been a roller coaster up and down for sure. I mean, there were times when I got the flu. I don't even know when, and I was seriously like, just take me, like, instead, because Kyle there's all sorts of things that go through your head, and because I've been public about our story, about a dozen other women with small children whose husbands had pancreatic cancer have reached out to me. Every single one of those men is passed. So it's not just for us and for Kyle and his legacy. That is a huge part of my children, but it's for everyone else. All those other children and mothers that have lost their husband to this awful disease. There has got to be a change.
Absolutely. And that's what Kira's here for. She's wanting to do that fight. There shouldn't be a medicine that could be given to a human that's just sitting there because we need more money. But that is why we have these nonprofit wonderful organizations to push and advance that research. So again, the link is in the comment section. Please, Michelle had posted that, your Pedal the Cause for Team Kyle. We'd love to help push that forward. Richard says there are a lot of stories of people curing themselves. Did you try Rick Simpson oil? I have a buddy almost 2 years past his death date with ALS. Do you know anything about that?
I do. My husband was not very willing to do sort of alternative options. We did a little bit, but at the end of the day, we were just surviving anything. And he was just so miserable. So I did look into that. I did research that. I am a little bit more, as my husband would say, granola than he is. So we pretty much stuck to whatever Dr. Lim said we did. So
it's interesting that would come up, because that's exactly what I'm getting ready to ask the doctor that's coming in, because you and I are very similar, I'm sure, in that meditation is huge. I like Western culture medicine and a marriage with Eastern culture medicine.
There's room for both. Absolutely.
So. It'll be interesting to hear this traditional doctor. Yeah. We are going to show a video as we transition out, and we'll bring Dr. Charles Willey in, armed with your questions, I hope, for the Medical Monday Ask the Doctor segment. Any last comments you'd like to make to our followers?
Just thank you for listening. Trust your body. Eat well, drink lots of water, and you'll know your body better. And if you have symptoms, if your belly hurts, if things are off, check into it. You've got to, like you said, you have to be your own advocate because doctors are busy. And unless it's a blaringly obvious symptom that is repetitive, and that's why oftentimes these cancers are found at stage 3, stage 4. If something is off, figure it out. And if one doctor isn't giving you any answers, no offense to all the doctors out there, find another one that will.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that's why you're going to love the doctor that's coming in, because he said that his best job is that he keeps people healthy, that he needs to be there for them. He's the kind of doctor that actually gives out his own cell phone on air, which he's going to get ready to do again.
Ooh, I love that.
He does that. He's there. He will spend a long, long time with you in the office because, again, he knows the other doctors that you're talking about, it's too busy. You can't even get into the doctor.
Right.
And then you've got all this time ticking away. Again, we don't want to get it to stage 3, stage 4. The more you can be preventative, first of all, taking care of your own health, eating properly, watch what you're putting into your body, all of those things. We have a video that I want you to watch, and this is February, just 2 months before
Correct.
Kyle had passed. Kyle was able to get up, put a suit on, and go to the daddy-daughter dance to be there for his daughter. And that, I think, is the most powerful thing to show that he was there in probably one of the hardest stages that he's in before he passed. So let's remember Kyle Andersen, who passed away way too young 6 months ago at the age of 48. Please, again, look into it, advocate for yourself, educate, and then look into the link that we dropped for you if you want to help donate and raise money. Thank you, Kiris. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Watch this video. It'll touch your heart.
Two, one, hold it.
Innovare Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Innovare isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Innovare can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Innovare take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online InvitaHealthandWellness.com. Think about this. When's the last time you called your doctor at 2 o'clock in the morning and he actually answered? Well, at Innovare Health Advocates, their patients are special. Their doctors, nurse practitioners, their care team care deeply about your health, your family, your work, and even your pet. Their clinicians are accessible and they lead your care in and out of the hospital. In fact, Dr. Charles Willey offers his cell phone number to his patients to ensure they can intervene early in your illness. They can provide care above and beyond, offering lab, x-ray, echocardiogram, and other treatments in their office. Innovare Health Advocates with 5 locations on both sides of the river. Check them out, InnovareHealth.com.
Welcome back. It is 7:44. Thank you again for tuning in. The Real Monica Adams Show, and very powerful as we just got done talking with Kira Andersen. Looking at some of your comments, a lot of people saying thank you for taking care of yourself and your children. She needs to, and still has a big fight with having such young children without their father now. You've been doing awesome. Keep up the good work. Someone says your strength's inspiring and providing such strength for your kids with help and their healing as well. And then there was a comment in here, which I think is interesting as we bring our doctor in. And doctor missed the warning signs, they questioned. Do they do every other trick in the book and make the patient wait months before they get an MRI or a CAT scan? If you have all the symptoms, don't wait, go back and keep pushing. It could save your life. That's what Juan said. Well, we're going to talk to a doctor. We're actually going to kind of do a little carryover. So thank you, Kira Andersen, for telling the story of your husband Kyle, and again our hearts and prayers go out to the family as they try to push on now 6 months after his passing. It is Medical Monday. We're going to talk with Dr. Charles Willey with Innovare Health Advocates, and I was just saying, doctor, that it's important. What are you doing?
It looked like my hair was standing up.
It's important to be your own advocate and then have a doctor who will be an advocate. She's just talking, I don't know if you heard any of that, but she was talking about the fact that her husband was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and that she had heard about a study that was out there and was wanting to push something through. I mean, that's a woman who will fight for her husband. She was able to get through all the red tape and get a study for one, and they actually pushed it through, which was incredible, and then it allowed him to have this medicine that really wasn't pushed out because it was kind of laying there needing about $3 million, and she pushed it through with getting the funding. They're like, well, you don't have to do that. And she said, I do. This is my husband. I want to do anything. If there's something out there that could be given, they had to take us. It was tested on mice, but it hadn't been tested in a human, and they pushed it through, and he lived another year past that, even though they thought he was near the end. So advocate, 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 fight, fight, fight. But she also was saying, you know, and I think you've said this before, if you have a doctor that's not advocating for you or is not doing what you want him to do, that's why we're talking about it. There's a lot of people, by the way, Dr. Willey, that have been asking me, I think I need this doctor, meaning you. And I said, I agree with you. That's why I brought him on, because they've heard what you've said and you are there for them. I think the greatest thing that you had said a couple of weeks ago was, it is my job to keep you healthy on a regular basis. Not, okay, I'm sick, I got to come in right now. But what are you doing? What are you drinking? What are you eating? How are you living your life leading up to that?
Absolutely. So how you live every day makes you healthy. Let's see. 50% of American healthcare problems are behavior. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, too much is something, not enough is something else. So behavior, 25% genetics, 25% bad luck.
Bad luck, genetics, but it is, you know, are we drinking? I mean, you know, I've got herbal tea here. I don't do a lot of caffeine. Always got my water. You know, it's all about what are we putting in our bodies health-wise. But one thing that one of these, and I said I would ask the doctor, somebody made a comment, and I thought, well, we might as well ask Dr. Willey this. Somebody said, with regards to pancreatic cancer, that they see more and more people, or at least they feel like more people are being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer more than maybe we've ever heard of. And here it is. Pancreatic cancer seems to be popping up more. Interesting. Why? Or is it just that we're hearing more about it?
Probably hearing more about it. I don't have fresh in my mind that it is increasing in frequency, but it's one of the bad actors, and they're just starting to make some progress. Mm-hmm. And cancer is I have my favorite oncologist. You know, he's my age, and a lot of our colleagues have retired. Mm-hmm. You know, doctors used to work till they're 80. I will. But many of them are quitting. And I said, are you going to quit? He said, are you kidding? I finally have a bunch of medicines that really work.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, in cancer, you got to check every day what's new, what's working.
Right. Well, so we can talk a little bit about that. Again, this is open for you. If you have questions, please shoot a comment in here, and then I'll read it just like we do on all Mondays. Ask the Doctor, Medical Mondays. One of the things you wanted to talk about today, though, has to do with fatigue. And I love the two images that you sent us. And I was like, yeah, wow. We think of fatigue, and we think what causes it, but what are the lingering effects? So break this down for us.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a great story. Fatigue is essentially every diagnosis that you might read about will have fatigue part of it. It if not in the beginning, as it goes on. Mm-hmm. So
these are signs of fatigue and exhaustion. We'll leave this up there for a bit.
Well, you know, people know if you're fatigued. So people will say, actually, few people say fatigue. They'll say, I'm tired, I'm short of breath, I'm sleepy, I'm weak, I'm off balance, I'm dizzy. So the trick is to sort it out. What does fatigue mean to you?
Right.
And so I painstakingly ask questions to sort that out. Is it somnolence, sleepiness? Is it? I let fatigue be. It's like you did a hard day of manual labor, and at the end of the day, your body is exhausted, but you're mentally alert. You're not falling asleep. And then the other is somnolence. It's like you pulled an all-nighter and you're sleepy. And then others are short of breath, weakness when you exert. If you walk and you can't keep up, there's maybe not short of breath, but your body feels like it's going to give. Sometimes people are saying fatigue when it's leg weakness, when they try to stand or walk. So there's a whole bunch of choices about fatigue.
And looking at this, so a lot of them, muscle pain, headaches, thirsty, excessive sweating, hair loss, memory impairment, change of body weight, pain in the jaw, frequent colds, digestive problems, just 10 signs of fatigue and exhaustion. A lot of those people, I have a feeling, Dr. Willey, they'd just dismiss, or they'd put it in a category of something else, right?
Perhaps. And those are less signs of fatigue. Those are all symptoms that might come with fatigue, as I look at that list.
Well, sluggishness, and yes, you're right. If someone looks like that they haven't slept, not that you're trying to say, oh my gosh, you don't look good, but a family member or a friend who really cares about you will be like, you seem a little off. And then the person's comment usually probably is, yeah, I don't feel like myself. And yeah, sluggish, right? Usually I hear that. I feel sluggish. I don't know why.
Yeah. And if it's persistent, then it might be time to look for help. So it could be a first sign of just not getting enough sleep, and you're burning the candle at both ends. But many people sleep, but it's not effective. So they're fatigued because their sleep is not effective.
Well, right. I was just going to say they might be laying in bed. They're not actually sleeping. Or I don't have it on right now, but I actually love my Apple Watch. I never thought I would get one of them, but I look and I am enamored with it showing how my sleep patterns are and how much I'm kicking. Yeah. I was like, no wonder why I'm tired. Yeah. Well, I would have loved to have had it when I used to get up at 1:30 in the morning. I didn't have it back then. There we go. We're looking at some pictures of people just being exhausted. And that's one of the things, though, Dr. Willey, is they grab caffeine immediately, and then they do that, which I am not an advocate of, which is those energy drinks. What are your thoughts on all that?
Caffeine and sugar.
Caffeine, and sugar. Yeah. So break that down for us.
Well, and again, many people sleep, but it's not physiologic, it's not cycling, and so it's not restful. And it slowly sneaks up on them and makes them fatigued over time. Caffeine, the National Panel of Smart Guys have been trying my whole career to find...
National Panel of Smart Guys.
That's right. And tried the experts, the researchers, the scientists. God love them. Need them.
Yes.
They're making me much more effective. They're great. But they've been trying to find out what negative caffeine does for us, and can't find it. Actually, there's a recent study that said that people who drink coffee, take caffeine, live longer.
See, but here's my problem. I have been in the news business for 30 years. I have done so many stories that one year...
I sip coffee.
Yeah, well, I know, and that's why I was laughing. One year it is coffee is the best thing for you. The next year... We're doing stories of, oh my gosh, it could kill you. Okay, now it's going to do this to your heart. And I think that is the biggest thing of people getting frustrated, that every time they turn around, the narrative changes.
Well, caffeine's it's a drug. It's a medication. And any medication, if you don't take enough, it doesn't help. If you take too much, it's poison. So caffeine is, it does a few things physiologically. It's a stimulant. It will quicken your heart a bit while it's in you. It does make you mentally more alert. It's a diuretic. It'll cause your kidneys to produce more urine. And for those who are later like me, it'll
you
make
just turned 50, right?
It'll make the muscles of your bladder a little spastic and uncoordinated and make you more urgent for urine. So those are 3 or 4 things that it does, but it doesn't kill you.
Well, I'm not a big fan of caffeine. That's just me. But I think, and I know my body. My body doesn't like caffeine. So what would you say are the positives of caffeine?
Well, I just said it's the National Panel of Smart Guys, and God love them. They keep, science is, one of the beauties of science is they keep re-asking the question, keep testing themselves. So the most recent study said you live longer. People who drink caffeine, on average, live a little longer. So if that's true, if that bears out, and maybe it's, maybe it's because people who drink caffeine, there's a bunch of confounding
Well, I was just going to say, it
problems.
depends on who's funding the study. I mean, again,
But
you could find another study
you're
that says
awake
no.
and alert. Well, I
Okay.
don't think that Starbucks funded it.
I don't know. Okay, how much caffeine?
Well, in moderation.
There we go.
Moderation.
Not an entire pot of coffee.
Well, not 4 pots a day.
Well, here's my other question.
I had a
If
fellow
some-
the other day said, yeah, Doc, I cut down from 5 pots to 2 pots. I said,
hope
well,
he's
good.
kidding.
No,
Oh,
he
Lord.
was serious.
Okay, well, so you tell me this, because my husband will regularly say, and he thinks it's funny, that he could drink coffee literally minutes before he goes to bed and he'll fall right asleep. I just look at that and say, well, that's not good. Your body's become so accustomed to this caffeine that I find that to be dangerous. If I had, and this is herbal, if I had actual tea anytime after 12 o'clock, I'd be up all night long.
Yeah. Well, people are different.
So their body's just getting used to it.
Well, he might, he could sleep anyway, but he might not be sleeping as well.
Exactly.
But he might. People are different. You'd have to know study his sleep
Okay.
to know for sure.
3 cups in the morning, 1 cup between 4 and 5 p.m. Don't do it for the caffeine, just love coffee. Okay. Someone says I may go half calf. I love coffee. I don't care if it has caffeine or not. Mostly I drink decaf, the taste and smell. Dr. Charles Willey again.
I drink it for the caffeine.
You drink it for the caffeine. So here's the thing. If you suddenly, and I love the fact, see, we never know. We're going to go in different directions on this segment today. If someone is drinking caffeine and then they hear a study, because right now I want you to look at the date and remember what we said today, and I swear you it's going to change. Next year we're going to have some study that says no, caffeine stunts your growth. I'm telling you, I've just seen these stories too often. Right now the studies are showing that if you drink caffeine, I guess, that you'll live longer. But what if someone tried to back off of it and then they have all the withdrawal symptoms? See, I just think that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it is, if you drink it every day, especially at higher doses, a cup or two, maybe not, but if you drink 4, 5, 6 cups of coffee a day, and this is a cup, right?
So how many of those will you do?
But most people are drinking a cup, right?
Huge.
Well,
Do
anyway,
you drink caffeine all day?
no, not all day.
Okay. But in the morning, and do you find it gives you more mental focus?
Yeah, it can wipe the cobwebs out of my eyes.
So for clarity and for wiping and not having the thought.
But if you stop, your question, if you
Yes.
drink a lot and you stop suddenly, you will have withdrawal symptom, and mainly that's headache.
Yes.
Mainly that's headache.
So maybe
And you'll
start
get through it
drinking more
in
water.
a day or 2 or 3.
Okay.
So if you're gonna just wean it,
Right.
if you're drinking 6 cups a day and you want to quit, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on successful days should get you through it.
I want this to get across, though, to the younger generation that they're getting up for high school, they're getting up for college, they're studying for tests, they're way, way, way late at night, and then they're getting up, they're barely getting any sleep, and then they're downing, and I don't mean small cans, huge monster cans of Red Bull and Monster drinks and First Form energy drinks. Take that in comparison, there we go, to coffee. Is that more dangerous?
It's just got a lot more. Those probably have 2 to 4 cups worth of caffeine in each one.
Okay.
Plus a bunch of sugar. Okay.
And then here's the other
problem.
problem.
Monica, I didn't drink coffee until I was 45 years old.
Oh, no?
No.
Huh.
I would run every day, sleep, had time to sleep, and life caught up with me. I didn't have enough time to sleep, couldn't exercise.
Right.
And needed to perform. So
Okay, and that's when you started drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Here, I want to ask you this before we'll talk a little bit more. Any questions that you guys have, let us know. I don't know if it's still a thing, but I remember people in bars drinking vodka and Red Bull, so pretty much an upper and a downer together. How dangerous is that combination?
is it dangerous?
That's what we used to hear. We used to do stories actually with some doctors about it from your heart health.
Heart health. Well, yeah, caffeine can quicken your heart. If you're vulnerable to an arrhythmia, it can make it easier to happen. Okay. Alcohol, similarly, if you're vulnerable to an arrhythmia, but again, it's about the dose. Mm-hmm. So if you're drinking a lot of caffeine so you can drink more alcohol, that means you're probably drinking pretty much alcohol over the dose. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole syndrome of alcohol cardiomyopathy. It'll weaken the muscle of your heart if you drink too much.
This is interesting that you would bring that up because it kind of goes into what I wanted to talk about last week. So, speaking of cardiomyopathy, I know a story of a gentleman who was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy, was on a list for a heart transplant. His sister happened to read an article. This is probably, I don't even know, 35 years ago. Happened to read an article about CoQ10 or COQ10. And it was probably in a natural magazine. And so she said, hey, I think you should start taking this. What do you have to lose? And he said, what is it for? And she's like, this is for your heart. So he started taking it and went back to the doctor. And the doctor said, well, we don't know what happened, but you don't need a heart transplant anymore. And so he said, I know what happened. This is what I started taking. And now, again, this is 35 years ago. And now there's tons of people who take CoQ10 or CoQ10 on a regular basis, which I would love to get your viewpoint on, because he will swear that that is the reason he never had a heart transplant. And he still takes it 35 years later.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Because it goes into our kind of natural medicine thing.
That's a controlled trial of one. And two things happened at the same time. He took the stuff and his heart got better. It doesn't mean cause and effect. And, there's not a series of cardiomyopathies that CoQ10 is fixing. It's probably that he had a temporary cardiomyopathy. No disrespect to CoQ10, but you just can't conclude because two things happened at the same time that one caused the other. So it's unlikely, but I mean there are temporary cardiomyopathies. We see that with some regularity.
So last week I wanted to go into it, and I know there's a lot of people on right now that I'm sure are waiting for this. This is a true traditional Western culture doctor. I know that. I've known him for a long time.
Oh, I didn't do my homework. I know nothing of Eastern culture.
Well, I'm just going to ask, though, if someone were to come into you, and I would be one of them, and this is my doctor. He is my husband's doctor. It's funny, my OBGYN, and it was really, and you know him, he said he went to medical school with you, and he said, I deeply respect Dr. Willey, but I got to tell you, I'm surprised he's your doctor. And I said, why? And he goes, because you are very into natural as much as can be. And I said, yeah, but I think, and I always will say this, that I think there is a beautiful marriage between the two, that I think we have to do everything we possibly can, naturally, by ourselves, how we live our lives. I'm actually big into why not trying different things. But you and I did stand in the hallway, which I thought was powerful. And one of my friends said, what about acupuncture? And you said, why? Why not, though? I'll come back and say, why not?
Well, I really am pretty ignorant about acupuncture, except that some people testify that it's wonderful. Others say that they tried it and it didn't help. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the science on it. Is there a double-blind control study treating certain conditions to prove that, you got 100 people, 200 people with the condition, and you give them all, put needles in all of them, and maybe, I don't know, how do you control it? You put needles in the wrong place for the control group, and do they do better? There's so many things that will get better on their own. They will get better for other reasons. It's really easy to, let's see, if you're a naturalist, I bet you were itchy about the COVID vaccine, right? Right. It was really easy to assume, and I was a proponent of the COVID vaccine during the first two variants, by the way.
And then you changed?
The disease became less virulent. The vaccine risk didn't change, but the risk of the disease came down to the vaccine. So it's not worth taking now. But back then it was, especially if you were a vulnerable person, old, and more than it being old, but having medical conditions. The older people are as a population sector, the more medical problems they have. So heart failure and COPD and obesity, et cetera, those are the people who really were dying of the COVID. But it was easy to think that it worked because so many people got through the virus anyway, right? It only killed a small sector and certain factors, but it was easy to think it worked because almost everybody got through the disease anyway.
So the people
didn't die of it, I mean. So you got to be careful drawing conclusions and try what you will, but you probably wouldn't try one of my pills without knowing the evidence.
No, but here's the thing. You didn't know the evidence.
But you would pick up a bottle of who knows what and try it without evidence.
Well, okay, this is going to be a good one right here. Get ready for it, everybody. the vaccine was pushed and put into people, they would have lost their jobs. They would have gone through a myriad of things, and the world pushed the vaccine that we had to take it. Okay, there are a lot of things coming out now of what the vaccine did.
I wanted my clientele, senior citizens and,
Yes.
and the unhealthy. People come to me. I'm an internist. They come to me because they have big medical problems.
So
I wanted them to get it. I didn't think we should have pushed it on the whole population.
There we go. There we go. That's what I wanted to hear.
Right.
Because yes,
We should have risk adjusted. We do that all day long. Okay, for whom is the risk benefit analysis? Right. The risk is high. The benefit is great. Let's do it. The risk is low. The benefit is not much. Let's not do it. We do that all day long. That's the whole principle of how we decide what treatments to proffer.
If you're just tuning in, by the way, and you haven't seen this gentleman on my show the last few weeks, you're going to see him a lot. Dr. Charles Willey, Innovare Health Advocates, our Ask the Doctor Medical Monday segment. And yes, I wanted to hear you say that because seniors, I understand, are very high at risk. Young mothers, well, they had to go through that of, do I have the vaccine? I'm carrying a child. They were forced into do it. I don't know. I just think it was very scary, and there's still a lot of information. It's still very new of what we took, what we put in our bodies. I did the first two, which is what you had mentioned. And I'm not going to go into it right now, but I had a very serious problem that came up from the vaccine. So I was done. I was not about to put the booster in me or anything else. I just think it's unfortunate that the world saw it forced upon us, and there's still a lot of unknowns with it. Right?
Well, this is a medical show, not political, but I always, I love to talk politics and religion as well. But that whole process was not. There was a lot of not good about that.
No,
a lot of not science about that. A lot of politics about a medical condition. So, a topic for another day.
Right. But I think it's good that you said, and that's what brought this up. It is a matter of educating. So if you see an infomercial for some supplement or something, and then you just take it without researching? No, I mean, the whole thing is there should be research done on whatever a doctor's prescribing, as well as research of you wanting to do something natural. We shouldn't be just taking something because someone says to take it.
In mainstream healthcare, we're always trying to find the evidence, trying to find the double-blind controlled trial if it's available. Back that up with experience of lots of doctors. I think I might have said to you the company that has made the medical library obsolete is called UpToDate. And, you used to have to drive to the library, climb down 3 racks of stairs into but now it's right there. So that's mostly evidence, but some of it's experience of the National Panel of Experts. And so we're looking for that. When people ask me about a supplement, call it, and I try to look it up, I usually can't find
reputable.
Well, is it? Yeah, the company that's making it is often saying, well, we researched it. Well, yeah, but is it double-blind? Is it controlled? Is it unbiased? And so what I tell most people, we do hear a lot about what hurts people, and I don't hear that acupuncture is hurting people. I don't hear that most of those supplements are hurting people.
Well, you do have to, and we need to stress this. You do have to check with your doctor, and hopefully you have a doctor that is advocating for you. You shouldn't just go and grab something and say, I'm just going to start taking this, and you're taking medications, and it has a contraindication possibly, or there could be something that could actually harm you by what you're taking. You have to understand that. Don't just take supplements and just say, oh, it's a supplement, it's not going to harm me.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know. There's got to be research behind it. I do want to see, is there anything that's out there? Because again, I really deeply respect your 40 plus years in the medical industry, and I know you're very, very deep into the Western side. Just because it's, okay, bring it to me, and he's very big on, let me research it. Is there anything that you would categorize in the Eastern culture or the natural side that you would say, yes, try this?
Nothing comes to mind.
No? Okay.
But mostly that's ignorance, right? I don't want to disrespect it, but I didn't think we were going to talk about it because I would have done a little homework to
No,
see what
well,
you mean
let's
by
just say
Eastern
this.
medicine. The main thing I know about is, the most
Acupuncture.
notable thing is acupuncture.
Acupuncture, I think there's a lot that falls into the Chinese medicine side. There's herbs and stuff that people take that they swear by. But do you think, I think if somebody came to you, walked into the office and said, oh my gosh, Dr. Willey, I'm taking this, and this is what really helped me, you would say, what? Let me do some research on it?
Yes.
Okay.
And figure out if it's harming them.
Right.
And if not, that's really what I say most of the time.
Is
I
it
was in a
harming?
pharmacy the other day, and there were pictures on the wall of plants.
Mm-hmm.
And one was one was the plant where digitalis came from. Digoxin is one of the early heart medicines. We still use it a little bit. Another one was belladonna, and I forget the scientific name of the plants. But the further back you go, there may have been herbs that became real medicines, and who knows who first took the plant. But these days, the scientists, the chemists, they've got computer drawings of the computer animation of the chemical, and they know if we take this moiety and we put it here, it's likely to do this in the person's body. So they really have a big track record, and they're designing them synthetically, whereas back in the day, a lot of things came from plants. So there may still be some wisdom in a plant that's unknown. Let's see. Botulinum toxin. There's a whole lot of usefulness for that.
Okay.
That's a poison.
Botulism.
Right? Botulism, right? But in the right dose, in the right position, there's been useful. So there's stuff that comes from nature, but the scientists are now inventing it beyond that.
There's a lot to talk about, and I think in future shows, I think it would be interesting to discuss. And again, it is supplementation in itself. When people hear about, they look into their medicines, I think the thing that used to always frustrate me is I would see a commercial for a particular medicine, and I swear 20 seconds of the commercial would talk about the good things, and 40 seconds of the commercial would talk about all of these side effects, and it can kill you. And I was like, hang on a second. That's what's scary to me. And I'm sure you hear this on a regular basis. See, he's smiling. It's true, though.
Well, in practicality, what's the odds? What's the percentage chance of it helping? What's the percentage chance of it harming? And do we know who's more likely to be harmed by it than others? And so all of that disclaimer is because of the lawyers. So a long time ago, somebody got sued about something.
Right, and they had
said,
to put it.
And the judge said, or the snake lawyer said, did they warn you about it?
And so they add that to the list.
Listen, I'm married to a lawyer. I have license to bash lawyers, right? But did they warn you about it? So you get all those warnings, and the package insert is there, and
it gets deeper and deeper and thicker and thicker.
People get scared out of taking something that's really going to be useful for them often.
I'm just a big fan of educating. Educate and ask questions.
You have to
ask
understand,
questions.
learn,
yes.
know.
Ask questions to your doctor. And if a doctor is not taking care of you, that's why we say, right now, I want you to think about that. I do want to introduce you to someone, by the way, because she said she wants to have an internist that she can regularly turn people to. So that's our title sponsor, Dr. Sarah Franco with Innovare Health and Wellness. She's like, for herself, she said she wants to come to you. And then there's a lady that we featured that's coming up on a show very soon. She's like, I want to speak with him and I want to talk with him as well. And that's what we said. He gives out his own cell phone number. If you want to, you can. Otherwise, InnovareHealth.com is the website I want you to go to. Let's go. We've got a bunch of people still on. Let's go to questions. Let's see. Okay, well, it goes back kind of to some of the stuff that Kira was talking about with pancreatic cancer earlier. Okay, I love coffee. I don't care if it has caffeine or not. How do you know if you are getting quote-unquote good sleep, doctor?
My key question to figure out if sleep is effective is are you rested when you wake up in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so after whatever your first 10, 15-minute morning routine is, the bathroom, the brush your teeth, have a coffee, hopefully not a coffee and a cigarette, because that's when I know they're really addicted when the cigarette's first thing. But if you're rested in the morning, and then if you're stay fairly energetic through the day, not taking naps, but not rested in the morning, people will start the day not rested. So that means sleep didn't do what it needed to do for you. Other clues, you're tossing and turning. If you sleep with someone, you're smacking them and stealing the covers and rolling and getting up and sleeping light. You notice things too easily. The jet flies over you, you wake up. Right. It rains, you wake up. Good sleep, you ought to sleep through those things. Now, sleep, you go deep phases of sleep where you're out of it. If we could pick you up while you're in that deep phase without waking you, you'd be loose as a wet spaghetti noodle. But in REM sleep, your eyes are moving, you're dreaming, you're active. So it's got to go in and out of those phases of sleep.
How do we get into more of that deep, deep sleep? I'm a very light sleeper.
Yeah. The sleep hygiene, if you Google sleep hygiene, you'll get some of those clues if you don't think you're a deep sleeper. And one trick is to wear a sleep mask.
That's what I've heard.
To help your eyelids stay closed without effort.
I just don't like things on my face. And then it's funny, we were showing the symptoms
well, you have
earlier.
such beautiful eyes. You want to mess those up.
Oh, I don't want to. Thank you. We were showing the symptoms earlier about fatigue, and Michelle made a good point. She said those same symptoms we're talking about are also menopause symptoms. So you dismiss them as, well, it's menopausal, which, ladies, you do not look forward to menopause. Let me tell you what.
Yeah, that's a complicated.
Yes.
That's a complicated conundrum that y'all have to go through.
Yes, it is.
And poor sleep is probably part of it.
It is.
Yeah.
And you're sweating and you're kicking the covers off and then freezing and putting them back on.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of, quality sleep is so critical and it's so often present. It's
actually,
it can exacerbate many conditions.
I'm glad Michelle brought that up. I actually want to bring this up. So if someone comes to you and, you're doing blood panels and whatever, and you say, oh, yeah, you're definitely deep into menopause, and I know you like to be a doctor of all as much as you can, and then you work with specialists, but what would you tell them? Because my OBGYN actually introduced me to black cohosh. Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard of it, but I don't know much about its use.
So that's where I appreciated the fact that I was like, here's a doctor who was actually saying, here's a supplement, Monica, I actually want you to try. So I think I appreciated that. I have a woman who said that she started crying because she said it completely changed and helped her. For me, I am not good at taking something 3 times throughout the day because I'm so busy that I forget and I don't carry something with me. So that's my own fault. I don't know if it would help. What do you tell people to do for menopause? Because we don't want to deal with all these symptoms.
Yeah. I don't have to deal with it very often. No. My practice has evolved to be women after the menopause.
Older,
yeah.
Gotcha.
And so most of the women who are going through it still have a gynecologist, and so it's their bailiwick. If they're really having a lot of trouble with it, I might send them to a gynecologist.
Gotcha. Okay.
The old hormone replacement, you can delay menopause by taking the estrogens, et cetera, but that's tricky. So
yeah, that's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, absolutely. Kira actually popped in here and said, I interviewed both the doctor that performed Kyle's colonoscopy and my GI doctor and asked them why gastrointestinal cancers are on the rise. Both doctors said overwhelmingly because of our lifestyle, what we eat, what we're drinking, and our environment, specifically a lot of red meat, processed foods, and alcohol.
Yeah, I don't have evidence of that. I don't have that in my head. I have to research it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's very big into some of the things that we talk about on the show that he'll want to come back. So
it's one fundamental that's clear is, having regular bowel movements.
Yep, and that's what Kira had mentioned before, to be aware of that.
It's many of the colon diseases are much less likely in the underdeveloped countries where they plant the wheat, they grow it, they thresh it, they make bread, and they still have all the fiber. And they're going 2 or 3 times a day instead, especially not every 3 days or every 5 days like some folks come to me. I mean, it's really healthy to be more regular. That's important.
Juan Diaz says, what's the best scan to find pancreatic cancer early? Is there a possibility they could miss the tumor by the radiologist? Can you ask for another scan if you continue to have issues?
Yeah, pancreatic cancer can be sneaky. Sounds like that gentleman was in his prime, 40s, 50s.
He died at 48.
Yeah. And effectively essentially all cancers are more common with age, but that can affect early. It really can be sneaky. It might present with a funny abdominal pain, and you do the CAT scan, you don't see it. So if the pain persists, do it again in 3 months.
Right, and don't let go of it. I think that's what we were saying earlier, which is what we mentioned on past shows, Dr. Willey. You know your own body. If a doctor's telling you, nope, everything looks good, there's something that's missing because you're off.
Yeah.
Right?
So we love the do-over in medicine. So if we look and it doesn't, we don't find something, but it persists, look again, ask again.
She had mentioned
don't let it go.
Scan and blood work. If you're having symptoms, absolutely request a scan.
There is a blood test that can help us confirm. It's not so good that we do it as a screening test, because if we did it as a screening test, we'd be telling a whole bunch of people they might have cancer and scare the dickens out of them.
Yep.
Actually, your sister-in-law just told me about it.
What's that?
Her case of a cancer scare.
Right.
For 6 weeks.
Right.
So we don't do that test as a screening because we would scare too many people into thinking they have it and not find enough. But it's a great augmentation of hey, there's this funny looking thing in the pancreas. And another great test early on is called, that wasn't available, I guess it's been around for 5 or 10 years, but it wasn't very common, endoscopic ultrasound.
Okay.
So put an ultrasound transducer on the end of an endoscope all the way down in the small intestine, turn it up the bile duct, and you can get a great look. It's the best look of the pancreas, and even better than MRI. Now, MRI has its usefulness, and then the doctor on that scope, gastroenterologist, special gastroenterologist, can biopsy if need be.
It's the advancements in medicine, which kind of goes back to what we were talking with Kira. We need the funding. That's why these nonprofit organizations are out there. That's why people do what we do. I mean, we run for causes, et cetera, because
it's why breast cancer is so well
Right.
managed these days.
And Hodgkin's disease. I mean, my brother had Hodgkin's disease, and I remember a doctor saying, if there's a cancer for you to get as a man, this is the best one, because not non-Hodgkin's, Hodgkin's.
Yeah, it was the first lymphoma
Right.
to be cured.
Right.
Be curable.
Somebody brought up vitamins, which I think is a big. My health has increased, she feels, 100% with D3 and zinc. Deep sleep, mental clarity, seasonal allergy vanished, increased energy. I'm also doing zinc. What's your opinion, doctor, on D3 preventing cancer?
A whole bunch of people. I test everybody for vitamin D. Mm-hmm. A whole bunch of people are deficient. Mm-hmm. We used to, in my household, I think the culture drank more milk when we were kids.
Yes.
back in the
Yes.
day. I
Yes.
think so. And we're telling people, be careful with the sun. Mm-hmm. So most vitamin D comes from the sun acting on the fat in your skin. Mm-hmm. So take a D supplement, get it tested. Take a D supplement. Yep. And vitamin D is severe deficiency we don't see, but
how much should we be taking?
The rickets. 1 to 2,000 units a day.
Okay.
Yep. Zinc.
Yes.
Taking a medicinal dose of zinc, that's controversial. If you take the recommended dose, it won't hurt you. There can be a zinc deficiency, but I don't think it's very common.
What about magnesium?
Magnesium is essential. It's most often low if we're doing it to you.
Gotcha.
Giving you diuretics. But it can go low if you're on a heartburn pill, one of the proton pump inhibitors. It can go low if you have diarrhea. Mm-hmm. And some people just don't seem to hang on to it. So I always test it to see if it's in the normal range.
Well, and again, I've said this before. I'm a big
easy to test
advocate
simple
of
blood
testing.
Test.
Yes,
yeah,
having your labs
test.
done is so important. Let's see if there's anything else on here. No matter what medicine or vitamin you're taking, you have to visualize it as curing you. That's somebody's more energy work, providing good to your cells. Here she said, intention and visualization behind it's important. My medication is all natural supplement, somebody said. Why do I seem to dream but somewhat awake? We're talking about sleep again. They were talking about sleeping. Okay, here's a long one. Question.
Dreaming is in the lighter phases.
The lighter phases of sleep.
Yeah. So it's if you, especially in the morning, are you dreaming or is it real?
And then no one ever remembers their dreams.
Yeah.
Here's a long one for you, Doc. Question: is the COVID vaccine still considered emergency use? Is emergency use not a true vaccine? Question mark. Meaning, has it been enough time and tested to be considered a vaccine? For me, I've just always had every vaccine that has been offered or needed from our doctors throughout the years without questioning. COVID, however, has opened my eyes to what we put in our body. I've had 2 COVID shots, but no more, only because of unanswered questioning on longevity if time tested. So her last part, is the COVID vaccine a true vaccine if it's still labeled emergency?
Yeah, emergency was a way to shortcut the research that normally would have happened to bring a drug to market. It's a vaccine. Emergency use helped them shortcut it, thinking that they were going to save a lot of lives with it. I think risk-benefit analysis. The current version of the virus, certainly the Omicron, the current version is a little nastier than.
What is the current one called?
I can't keep track of it.
Nor can I.
It's morphing so fast.
Well, and they're saying that now I heard on KMOX this morning driving in that they said now this is harder for children, yet now the other problem is that they can't get the vaccine for kids.
But it's killing no one. Okay? I had a 97-year-old, sweet little old lady, 97-year-old, pretty fragile, heart and lung disease. Mm-hmm. She had it. She came to the hospital. We kept an eye on her for 3 days, sent her home. She did fine. So it's not killing people.
There you go. From the doctor.
So what's the risk? The risk isn't great. Talk to your doctor if you. I would recommend it for my patients who have serious medical problems. Still, but this is yet a new version of it. So it's.
So, like, again, you mentioned earlier that you have an older population that you treat. Are you it right now because you're going into Walgreens, whatever, and they're saying, here's a COVID vaccine, here's a flu vaccine. Is it just something that's going to be a part of our lives now, like the flu?
I think it's going to be more like the cold virus. It's morphing so fast that they won't be able to keep up with it. Okay. Yeah, that's why we don't have cold vaccines. And the cold is not that risky, right? It's a few days of yuck.
Yes, but not killing us.
The flu is, a week of misery, mm-hmm. and if you have COPD and heart failure, it can kill you. Mm-hmm. The flu vaccine, and I don't understand the virology, but every year they predict what's going to happen here and put 3 or 4 strains in it, and in about the 30 years we've had it, it's really decreased the amount of people end up on a ventilator in the intensive care unit. So the flu vaccine is very worthwhile. If you're healthy, it's a choice of get the vaccine or have a week of misery if you get the flu. So it's not mandatory.
Well, and when you have a high fever, you've got those things. Obviously, you don't let it go. You go to the doctor. We still have a ton of people on. If you have any other questions, let me know. We did see one picture, and I want to bring this up. This right here that I'm holding in front of me, or this right here that I have, that we all are doing this right before we go to bed. Doesn't that disrupt our sleep?
Yeah, that's not a good way to get ready for sleep. If you Google sleep hygiene, you'll see don't use electronic media when you sleep. Read a good boring book. Read
not a boring one, a good one. Because you want us to fall asleep.
Yeah, you want to fall asleep. If it's a page turner, you got to be awake.
That's true.
And
that is true.
If your objective is to fall asleep.
So what do you think about like meditation apps? What do you think about meditation?
Meditation would be wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a way to really calm down.
So by the way, that some people would consider into more of the Eastern culture, which is good.
Fine.
High five.
All right.
All right. Yeah. Anybody else? We've got about 45 of you on.
Prayer.
Anything that calms us, right?
Yeah.
Prayer, meditation. I'm big on that. So let's do that.
Prayer and meditation. Meditation.
Yep.
Or
how about this for a good life?
They're similar.
Prayer, meditation, surrounding yourself with positive people, drinking more water, eating more vegetables, lean proteins, walking more. Those are all benefits, right, of living a healthier life?
Socialize with a purpose, exercise, eat right.
There you go.
Have more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Laugh more.
Laughter is the best. Still the best medicine. I know you love
to make your patients laugh. Okay, pick a color, any color.
Pick a color, any color. Okay, how about purple today?
Purple? There it is. It's 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety, right? Yep, I know the purple one. We're going to wrap up our show because we talked about the importance of bringing prayer in. And this is our daily devotional. We'll have that when we return.
Invita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Invita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Invita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Invita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online invitahealthandwellness.com.
It's 8:29, and so as you can tell, over the last couple of weeks, we've gone on a little longer. I think you've all been asking, are you going to maybe have your show a little deeper into the 8 o'clock hour? Yes, but then I have people that say, can you come on a little earlier? These are all things that we did, by the way, when we were in television, that we would go on a half hour earlier. We would test the market. Well, I looked on Friday. 80 of you were live with me, which was blowing my mind, and then it reached 8,000. And that, by the way, is still there. We were talking about a lot of things, having fun with you. We just mentioned how important it is to laugh. I think we were all laughing together, talking about how you're decorating your house. We were talking about living the age you're in and appreciating the age that you're at. Again, it was just us talking together. But yes, I appreciate all of you that are watching on a regular basis and continue to spread the word to everybody. So Dr. Willey picked 100 Days to Freedom, the purple book, From Fear and Anxiety. And this one is Next Steps. When I'm afraid, I will put my trust in you. This is Psalm 56, verse 3. Sometimes to feel a sense of peace, we need to know what to do. We're eager for someone to tell us the details of how to do what needs to be done, someone we trust. Well, here's the challenge. Most of the time, life doesn't have step-by-step instructions. The unknown is where insecurities and your fear shows up. This passage is a next step that you can trust. Awareness that you feel afraid or insecure is your cue to put your trust in God. While this may seem simplistic, it is the path to freedom. The path takes more than one step, but eventually your faith and trust in God will bring the peace for which you long. Well, today, choose to trust God, especially if you are not feeling afraid of anything. It is during those times that you will build your faith for the times of testing. This isn't to suggest you will completely remove the fear from your life, but it does mean that even when you do feel afraid, you will know who you can trust with your life. Priscilla Shirer said, in prayer you gain your strength, the power to gird yourself with armor that extinguishes every weapon your enemy wields. Max Lucado, the presence of fear does not mean you have no faith. Fear visits everyone, but make your fear a visitor and not a resident. And Andy Stanley said, past boldness is no assurance of future boldness. Boldness demands continual reliance on God's Spirit. So today's prayer is, Lord Jesus, help me to be aware of your strength. Love me for me each and every day. You are always faithful. Help me as I rest in your promises. Amen to that. And I love it. Dr. Willey actually asked me a couple of weeks ago, he's like, Monica, do you end every show like that? He's like, is that a devotional? Is that prayer? And I was like, yes. And your comment was, good. I like
good.
that.
Right.
Yes.
Anxiety, it's on the positive side, customer satisfaction in healthcare is if my customer, the patient, believes they are as healthy as they can be given their set of diagnoses, conditions, right? And they know I'm available and I'll be there for them.
Right.
So that's customer satisfaction, but it also belays anxiety about healthcare.
Yeah, we have to find a way to calm ourselves.
Yeah.
Somebody just said, thank you, Dr. Willey, for sharing your medical advice. We so appreciate you. Oh, so real quick before we wrap up, off the cancer subject, what do you think of taking turmeric? You have to look into that one for me.
You know, I hear people talking about it, but I haven't read about, what won't hurt you.
Yeah. Use it, well, again, I use it regularly when I'm cooking, but I know a lot of people take it above and beyond that. So if there's something, by the way, and that's why I tell you, shoot me an email, by the way, info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. That way, if you have a question that you want us to address next Monday, I can kind of give Dr. Willey a heads up early on. Phone number?
Yeah.
How about website? There we go.
No, people, I'm happy to say it.
InnovareHealth.com.
People are respectful. Call me if you have a real medical conundrum, you're worried, call me.
Okay.
314-359-0413.
And that is also, I want you to look into that, because if you don't have a doctor that's taking care of you the way Dr. Willey and his staff are, it's time for you to start asking some questions, be your own advocate, and look for a new doctor. Great to see you again. This was a really good show.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so we don't know yet. About midweek, we start to say, Dr. Willey, what do you want to talk about next week? So as soon as you know, let me know so I can start sprinkling it out there, and then we can let them know.
Great.
Medical Mondays, ask the doctor, and we'll have Dr. Willey back with us next Monday. By the way, tomorrow we have Lori, Abby, and Gabrielle Stahlschmidt. They will be my guests, and we'll be talking about never letting someone stop your dreams, not the what-ifs in life. Go after them, grab a hold of them. 3 very powerful women. It starts with the mother, and then what those 2 beautiful daughters have been able to do in their life because they believed in themselves. A really great show on tap for you tomorrow. Remember, I say it all the time, Dr. Willey, go out and be anything you want to be in this world, this vast world. Just grab a hold of it. Go and attack those dreams. But before you do anything at all, please spread kindness. God bless you all.